Alright guys, today we're going to talk Death Guard Codex. Welcome to the Grizzled Warmaster. I'm Mike, and thanks for joining us. I know it's been a while, guys. Last year's been crazy. Nurgle got a hold of the entire planet and kind of held us up. And we've been focusing what little time we had and what little resource we had for filming on the main channel, the Grizzled Geek, and kind of fallen by the side here, guys. But we're back at it. New year. We got a bunch of new videos for you, and we're going to kick off with the brand new 40k Codex Death Guard. So just out, guys. This thing is crazy. Death Guard was one of the first armies released in 8th edition. I mean, they were in the box set here. The main box set. Actually, you can see the main box set back there, the Dark Imperium. And it has amazing new models, and they were awesome, but they kind of got a little dated. And then last summer, with War of the Spider book came out, they got a huge buff, and they were back up there again with a very competitive army. And now, just 7 months later, 8 months later, we got a new Codex, right, in a new edition, 9th edition, new Codex. And man, there's some crazy stuff going on, but a lot of changes, guys. A lot of changes to how you played your army before. I know in fact, during this whole quarantine, I've painted up. I finished off what Death Guard I had, so I have a fully painted army now. But now it looks like I'm going to have to change it up a little bit here now. Not that I didn't have plenty beforehand. I've always played Nurgle, so I've got a ton of Nurgle models. But today we're going to go look at the units out of the Death Guard Codex here. We're going to take a look at the special rules and some of the different categories and some of the strengths and weaknesses, some of the things that are better, some of the things that got worse, and going to give you my opinion on these units and what they can do and whether or not they're worth it in whether they should be in your new Death Guard list or not. So hang tight, guys. Let's jump into taking a look at the units, and then we'll come back and we'll discuss it. Okay, let's take a look at the units here in the new Death Guard Codex. We got some broken down, obviously, headquarters troops, elites. We got the point values here for them. And let's go down and basically take a look at what some of these mean. And not all these, some of these are actually kind of drawbacks. Okay, so we'll take a look at each of these. So the first one is core. So what counts as core units, right? There's only a few in here. The Plague Marines, right? The Terminators, both types, Possessed, and the Hellbrute are the only things considered core in a list. So anything in there that affects core units, those are the only ones that it affects. Okay. Another factor in what can take certain abilities is bubonic Astaris, right? Which ones are the plague, basically the Plague Marines. So all of your headquarter choices are bubonic Astaris. Of course, the Plague Marines are. All of your elite options, bubonic Astaris. And then your Land Raider, your both Predator types, and the Rhino. Okay. And the Land Raider, if you look over the notes, Land Raider and the Rhino are bubonic Astaris dedicated transports. So only things that have an X in this column here can be transported in the Land Raider and the Rhino. Okay, so that's kind of important. Obviously, Poxwalkers and Cultists can't be transported. And none of your fast attack and defilers and Plague Burst Crawler does not count. And now let's go look at our Lord of the Death Guard keyword here. Now this is our first of the drawbacks here. Alright, so if you have anything with the Lord of Death Guard X here, it means you can't have two of them in the same detachment here. So if you put in your Force Org, you have your headquarters choices, and you want a Demon Prince and something else, you can't have a Chaos Lord, you can't have Typhus. You'd have to take either, Sorcerer or Plague Caster, right? If you want to have two headquarter choices, any one of those lists, you're going to have a Sorcerer or Plague Caster in addition to one of these other ones because you can't take them. And of course, Mortarion, he can have whatever. He doesn't count as a Lord of Death Guard because he's not jealous of the other ones. He can, any of them can be with him. But so this kind of limits it, right? I mean, my normal list was Typhus and a Demon Prince, and I can't have both of those. So it's kind of a drawback here. Then we have Foated Virion, whatever how you pronounce it. Now this one's kind of like kind of a bonus, all right. And so these are for like all these elite special characters, right? The biologist Putrefier, Foul Blightspawn, Noxious Blightbringer, Plague Surgeon, and Tallyman. This means you can take 3 of these for 1 elite choice, so you can get more of these in your list here without taking up so many elite choices. And that is just for these special kind of characters, elite choices. Okay. Next we have Contagious. Contagions. These are the ones that have the Contagion aura, and pretty much it's everything in the list except for Cultists. Okay. Everything has the the cool new area of effect contagions. It gets bigger. We'll go through, talk about more of that. Next up, we have Disgustingly Resilient. Okay, and this is where they take 1 less wound when they're taking wounds. So it's not, in my opinion, as good as Disgustingly Resilient was before. But that's because I got pretty lucky rolling 5, so I really like taking my chances. But we'll see how it plays out. I mean, bumping up the Plague Marines to 2 wounds and the Terminators to 3. We'll see how it works out. So pretty much all the headquarter choices have Disgustingly Resilient. Plague Marines have it. All the elite have it except for the Hellbrute. And the Hellbrute has something called Monstrous Resilience, which is exactly the same thing as Disgustingly Resilient. And I think the reason why this is like this, why it's called something different, is because I think this is going to carry over into the new standard Chaos Marine Codex when it comes out. So they're going to give basically Disgustingly Resilience ability to some factions or some units in the regular Chaos Codex, and they're just going to call it Monstrous Resilience because obviously Disgustingly Resilience is Nurgle. Then the Foated Bloat Drone and the Mephitic Blight Hauler also has it. And that's about it. Also, the the new Fortification has it as well. So, and then after discussing the Resilience, we have Plague Weapons. So a lot of things affect Plague Weapons. They have new abilities that can buff Plague Weapons. So on here, just really quickly, I have who has Plague Weapons, right? So first one is ranged, right? Demon Prince. Lord of Virulence, the new model, Plague Marines, obviously, Biologists, Putrefier, Foul Blightspawn, then the Terminators, the Bloatrones, the Blight Haulers, and the Plague Burst Crawler. All right, those are your ranged Plague Weapons. And you can see there's a lot more of the melee Plague Weapons, right? So Chaos Lord, Lord of Contagion, Lord of Virulence. Poxwalkers actually have, melee Plague Weapons, Plague Marines, several of these here. So you can see what has it here. Couple notes here. Well, we already talked about the Bubonic Astares and the Monstrous Resilience of the Hellbrute. But the Cultists here, interesting, they can't take objectives. They don't have any Plague Weapons. They don't have the Contagion Aura. They're not Disgustingly Resilient. And they're the same cost as Poxwalkers. So that is putting a lot on, not very good shooting, and their shooting is not that great. The Cultists and Poxwalkers are there to take objectives and to hold things, and they're not nearly as hardy as Poxwalkers, right? And they're not nearly as good. Obviously, the only advantage they have over Poxwalkers is they have range attack, but it's not that great. You're not counting, if you're counting on your Cultists to kill stuff with range, you're doing something wrong. All right? So I cannot see taking Cultists over Poxwalkers. It just seemed like, I don't know why, for the same point cost. I don't know why they're even in there to be considered. But I think Poxwalkers come out ahead on that one. But you can see there are, this kind of changes around some of the lists that we had before. You got to take a lot of this into consideration. What your small unit, small core, right? You can take some more of these elites in here. You can see how they want you to play the army. Trying to make these elite special character things have more of them in your list. The Lord of the Death Guard, though, that seems. I mean, obviously, a Demon Prince is kind of a monster in this list here. Most people, that was it was a gimme, right? We're gonna take a plague. We're gonna take a Demon Prince, and something else, Typhus, Rotarian or whatever. But now it kind of limits what you can take on here, so you got to be careful. Right, and it's helpful to know who has a plague weapon, because there's quite a few buffs for them as well. Another thing, speaking of the Demon Prince here, you notice the Demon Prince with wings. It's more expensive with the wings here. 140 versus 175. Thing is, I have all my Demon Princes are modeled up with wings, because before it was yeah, definitely, why wouldn't you take wings? But now, with that extra point cost, and they're not as good anymore. Now they're only a 10-inch move instead of 12. It's almost like it's not worth it here. But sad part for me is I have 4 different Nurgle Demon Prince models, and they all have wings. So, all right. So there's basically a breakdown of the costs and the abilities of each of the units here. So we'll dive a little bit deeper into some of the units. Okay, so let's take a look at the voted, going into the units here, the voted Varian characters. These names. The voted Varian characters. So these are the ones you can take multiple of for one elite choice. Trying to get more of these special characters in here. We're going to start off with the biologist Putrefier. And this one here is changed up a little bit. So he's still got his injector pistol, but now it does 1 damage plus D3 mortal wounds if it successfully wounds. Okay, before it used to do D6 damage to infantry, bikers, and cavalry. Okay, so now you're looking at, instead of D6, you're looking at 1 damage and possibly up to 3 mortal wounds. Okay, so I think this thing's going to be doing more damage in the long run against things, and that's against, and it's not limited by what it can wound. So I think that's better. The aura, however, not quite as good. It's got bubonic Astares units within 6 inches throwing blight grenades improve the AP to -1 and do D2 damage. Now it no longer improves the strength. It used to improve the strength of the grenades, but with the contagion giving everything a minus to toughness, it's kind of a wash here, right? Most things are going to have the minus toughness, and then you're not going to get the +1 strength, but it'll come out the same here for you. The problem is now not everything can throw blight grenades, right? I mean, you only have so many in a unit that can throw blight grenades. So the whole blight grenade bomb strategy before might not be as good. So let's keep that in mind. Then it has a second aura, Foul Infusion aura. Okay, so at the start of look at this. See this? Correct my typos as I'm going. At the start of the charge phase, select 1 core unit. And remember, there's only so many core units within 6 inches. And this core unit's melee attacks with plague weapons on unmodified 6 to wound roll will score additional 1 mortal wound. Okay, so remember, there's only 4 things that are core units, and then it's got to have a plague weapon, a melee plague weapon. Okay, so it's a little limited, but it replaces the what was it? The Blades of Putrefaction, I believe it was called, from the old Codex, which is gone now. We don't have that anymore. So now its abilities just kind of go into a select few and this kind of limited buff here. All in all, it's he's going to do some do a little damage here. He's got some, some buffs. You can, if you got some guys throwing blight grenades, you can improve that. The -1 AP, the D2 damage is nice. The extra mortal wounds. I mean, pumping out mortal wounds, this guy can help you get there. Now, the thing is, you can take him and multiple other ones, so he's not going to eat up a whole. Before, when you're eating up a whole elite slot, just one, it was a little rough. But now that you can take 3 of them for one, he might be worth it, guys. And he also comes in the new box set with Typhus and Plague Marines and um, the zombies, Poxwalkers. So yeah, so you get him in that box as well. So all right, so and next up we have our Foul Blight Spawn, and this miniature when last summer when War of the Spider came out, this was one of the go-to models for Death Guard. It was really awesome. However, it's been a little nerfed in a new one. So, for instance, the Plague Sprayer, its main weapon here, it's Strength 7, Damage 2. Where last time it was a variable damage, if it was 2d6 damage, sorry, 2d6 strength, it was variable strength, and the damage was 3. So it did 3 damage before, and it could do up to could be up to 12 strength. So they gave it average. 7 was the average of the 2d6. So now it's just fixed 7 strength, and damage is 2. So reduced it down. All in all, a little worse. The aura ability is been nerfed as well. It is now select 1 unit within 3 inches to fight last, not all units within the area, just 1. But I mean, there's a few things you can do. The Codex has a relic form, the Revolting Stench relic. Units within 6 inches cannot fight first and cannot count as having charged, regardless of their rules. So, and there's a couple things like there's another relic, Vomitrix, which gives a 7 attacks instead of D6 for it's Matarian Sons, I believe. And then there's the Vicious Death Pathogen, which is +1 strength and reroll D6 number of attacks, so kind of fix the drop in strength for the Plague Sprayer. But all in all, not as good a unit as it used to be. I mean, like I said, it used to be one of the go-tos, but now it's kind of like, okay, well, the only thing is, because he's part of the Fodied Virion, you can take multiple of them for one elite selection. So if you got the points, otherwise not as needed as it was before. Up next, we have our Noxious Blightbringer. This model was in the starter set before, and now it's coming out on its own. Well, actually, it's in a box of 3 other figures from the starter set. So this thing, it's changed quite a bit. So it has some auras. Okay, so it's got +1 move and advance for core and Fodied Virion within 6 inches, so they can affect themselves and others. Enemy units within 6 inches get a -1 to combat attrition tests, and enemy psychers within 6 inches get -1 to psychic tests. Okay. Then it's got a relic. So instead of coming with this, you have to give it a relic. The Demon's Toll, it's Bell. It's completely different than it was before. Now, once per battle, it can select an enemy within 6 inches that on a 2+ cannot fall back, which is pretty selective. Honestly, to take up a relic slot, I don't know if I would ever take that Bell. He's got cool little, aura buffing abilities. And he has armed with a plasma gun, a plasma pistol. But this guy went from a must-have to, it'd be nice to have kind of thing. But again, this is part of the reason why these units we're talking about right now can be taken multiple for one elite slot. All right, up next we have the Plague Surgeon. And this one, I never used to bring up Plague Surgeon at all, but I'm really considering this one now. He's actually really useful. He's got an aura. The bubonic astartes within 3 inches get a feel no pain roll of 6+, right? So, in addition to their disgustingly resilient, which reduces the damage, they got a 6+ feel no pain basically within 3 inches of Plague Surgeon, right? So, bring them behind the others and kind of buff them. He can also heal bubonic astartes within 3 inches, D3 wounds. That happens at the end of the movement phase, I believe. So, I mean, you give him something like, the Fagaris Helm that, increases aura range, and now he can buff, multiple units. Yeah, really good. I think he's definitely, some of them got nerfed. I think he's definitely an upgrade. So, probably one I would recommend taking. All right, and last of our voted Virion characters, we have the Tallyman, which I've always liked this model. I thought it was cool. Just uh, uh, concept of him here, but the look he's pretty sweet. So now you can select a core unit in the command phase within 6 inches to get a that should be a +1 to hit. Look at this. You're with me while I'm editing my stuff here as we go. Nope, not underscore plus. Oop. There we go. +1 to hit until your next command phase. So this is really good because it's through your turn, and it's through the next either opponent's turn because it's until your next command phase, right? So I mean, man, for a big unit of like Terminators or like Marines that can shoot and fight in the same turn, that could be really good. He did lose his ability to reroll all hit rolls and melee to grant that, but I mean that was a little much here. Also, at the start of the command phase, you roll 2d6. On a 7+, you gain a command point, which is far better than the previous version, which you had maybe one. I don't know. Was it 50% chance? It was like a 1 in 6 chance to get a command point instead. Now you got a 50%. So that's better. Far more often get command points. And he's got a relic. You can give him Toll Keeper. So core units within 6 inches get exploding 6s to hit with ranged weapons. So it means if you roll a 6 to hit, you get another. You have to roll another dice. You get another shot at it. So yeah, really good. I really like the Tallyman. And it's weird, is the Surgeon and a Tallyman were 2 of those characters that I never took before. But now I'm thinking I might be switching them up into my army now. Okay, and rounding out the rest of our elites here, we have our Terminators, both Blight Lord and Death Shroud. And these guys are like some of the real winners here in the book. First off, they now move 5. Okay, so they're a lot faster on the board now. But they retain their Cataphracti 4+ invulnerable save as well. So they don't lose the heavy armor save, but they lose the reduction in speed. But they did lose the Aura of Rust. Okay, which again, the Aura of Rust was a nice addition, but it wasn't. I mean, you didn't revolve your army around that. Well, to be honest with you, you probably didn't take Terminators because the point sink. But now at 3 wounds, disgustingly resilient and faster, yeah, I think Terminator. You're gonna see a lot more Terminators. What you're gonna see a lot more of is Death Shroud Terminators. Now, Death Shroud Terminators, like the ones before, they move 5. They keep their 4+ invulnerable save. But they well, they got a boost and then they got a kind of reduction. The bodyguard ability, it's still pretty good. The characters with 9 wounds or less cannot be targeted with ranged weapons if they're within 3 inches of Death Shroud, right? Which unfortunately means they can no longer protect Mortarion, right? So Mortarion, more than 9 wounds, so he can no longer be a bodyguard. Before, the only way you took these guys is if you had Mortarion in your army, and then you took them to help keep him alive, because you could shove wounds off on him. So they can't suck up wounds for characters now, but they can make it so the characters cannot be targeted if they're close to him. So that's pretty good. And the big improvement is with Man Reapers in general. Man Reapers have an improved damage, and they have Horde attack option now. So they have two options. They have the high damage, high AP, single, attack for using it as a can opener to open up tanks or killing really powerful things, or they have an option that doesn't do as much damage and has less of an AP, but can have a lot more attacks. They get two attacks for every attack profile they have on there, so they can attack hordes with it. So very nice, very versatile with the Man Reapers now, and that's across the board with Man Reapers. And we'll take a look at that more when we go over another video of some of the weapons. And last we have in the elites, we have the Possessed here. Unfortunately, they stayed at 2 wounds. They didn't go up to 3 like the Terminators did. But like a Terminator, they cannot be transported in rhinos. And they take up 2 spots in a Land Raider. I'm kind of torn on Possessed. I used to love Possessed, and I love the sprue. It's a little old. It's an older sprue, but it still holds up pretty well with all the options, mutated options, and everything. I like Possessed in a regular Chaos Army. I don't know if I really like them in Death Guard Army, and I don't know whether that's just aesthetics. I mean, I prefer. I mean, they're pretty chaotic, but they're not. I mean, I'm looking more tentacles and stuff like that for Nurgle Possessed. If I think as opposed to what they look like here with the Slanesh claws and very kind of generic look to them. So I don't know. And power wise, I'm just thinking, man, I don't know if I use up an elite slot for them. I would use them for getting some of those special characters or Terminators, because they're pretty sweet. But that rounds up our elite list. Okay, so let's take a look at our troop options here. We got 3 out of this book. First is the Chaos Cultists, and like I said, these, now that Poxwalkers have dropped to the same points, they're almost not worth it. I mean, I can imagine taking a unit of them instead of Poxwalkers. I mean, they can, for their crappy shooting, but they can't secure objectives. They don't have the Contagion Aura, and they cannot be transported, right? So they're, I don't know what you would do with them. Just throw them in front of people with speed bumps. But, I would much rather have Poxwalkers who can actually do some damage here. Poxwalkers, they can't perform actions and cannot be transported. So I'm not exactly sure what it means by they can't perform actions. Maybe I would need to read up on my rules a little bit more, but they do have a Feel No Pain of 6+, which replaces their Disgustingly Resilient they used to have, because now it doesn't do them any good because they're only 1 wound models, the way they changed the rules up. So they don't have Disgustingly Resilience, but they have a 6+ Feel No Pain. So not as good as their 5+ they had last edition. And Typhus still buffs them strength, but he no longer buffs the toughness. Okay, so it's just strength now, the Typhus buffs. But, and this is the thing, it's kind of, again, they're losing a lot of the, there's a lot of strength reductions. This one increases the strength, but you add that, you increase the -1 toughness that most things are going to have because of the aura of this army. And, that's going to be pretty good. You're going to buff them up quite a bit. They no longer have they don't have the inexorable advanced, right? So no modifiers to move, and they're not bubonic Astaris, so they can't get the movement bonus. But still, slow shambling walkers. But when they get there, they have to contend with them with the as many attacks they have. Especially got typhus buffing them, you know, and with a 6+, feel no pain, they'll stick around a little bit. But clearly, what the Codex wants is Plague Marines to be your core troop type. In fact, you can no longer have the horde of zombies and cultists because you have to have a unit of Plague Marines for every unit of Poxwalkers or cultists you take. So the zombie horde armies are no more. Half your troops have to be Plague Marines. Okay? Let's see here. What do? The flail and cleaver. The big thing about these are the big takeaways I got out of this. Flail and the cleaver upgrades no longer replace plague knives. Okay, so you still get your plague knives in addition to your flail and your cleaver, which gives them effectively a base attack of 3. Okay, because they have 2 weapons. They got a plague knife plus a flail plus a cleaver or whatever whatever they have. As were before, just replace the plague knife. So that is pretty awesome. Of course, the problem now is the flail. You can't have as many. Well, you used to be able to have two flail in a small unit. Now you have to have. It's only 1 in 5 models can be upgraded with a flail or a cleaver in that. So if you want 2 in a unit, you have to take a full size unit of 10 in order to get 2 flails in there. No more 5 or 7 man units with 2 flails. The flail itself is a flat 2 hits now per attack, and it no longer spills over wounds. Okay, so it was like a D3 for each one before. So if you got something that buffed up your number of attacks, you had D3 attacks with the flail. Now it's just a straight 2. So that's actually statistically better. But again, the wounds no longer spill over. So, but they have dropped the max unit size from 20 to 10. So again, this whole edition is revolved around a lot of smaller units. But yeah, if you 10 man unit, if you want 2 flails in it, you got to take a full 10. A couple other things here is the Cloud of Flies stratagem. It's now much more costly. It's actually 2 command points for infantry and 4 for terminators. So if you want to give them the units of Cloud of Flies stratagem, it's kind of costly now. So still, I'm just gonna take some time, some playing around with it to see whether or not that's worth it. But we'll see. I want to again, just getting the stuff in here. We'll have to play around with it to see whether or not what the optimal loadouts will be. But yep, there it is, your troops. Okay, so let's take a look at fast attack now, or the ones that haven't changed. And these, I'm still trying to figure out what I think of this. I mean, I think obviously the floated blow drone I think came out okay, and we'll see about the blight haulers. But the blow drone, it's dropped down to 9 wounds, but it's great because that means it doesn't degrade anymore, right? I really dislike those round 10 wound models that degrade right away, right? You hardly ever get to use their full potential. This one, it doesn't get any worse. It's always going to be what it is. And with 9 wounds is plenty, especially when it keeps its disgustingly resilient. It's taking 1 less damage, right? So it's still going to stick around on the board. Now it hits on a 3+, right? 3+ to hit, but it has 1 less attack than it did. So I mean, kind of figure out how that's going to work. But the 3+ instead of the 4+, that's pretty big, right? But it goes down from 4 attacks to 3 attacks, right? So 1 less wound, 1 less attack, but it hits better. It's disgustingly resilient, and it has plague weapons, right? Let's see here. The flesh mower, it's -1 strength. The heavy blight launcher, it's got a plus to its armor penetration. but a flat 2 damage instead of D3, which is statistically better. And the Plague Spitter, it's got 3 inches to its range, right? So now the Plague Spitters are 12 inches instead of 9 inches, right? Uh, and its strength 6. So, uh, all in all, I think the floated Bloatrons are pretty handy. They're fast. You get them out there on the board. There's something they're gonna have to contend with. They got a longer range with the Plague Spitters now, which are plague weapons, and they're still pretty hardy, and they're not gonna get any worse as they go through. So I like them. However, now the Blight Hauler, this one is rough. This one's changed up, and I don't know. The big thing is it's 40 more points, right? It's 40 more points. So I'm not really sure whether it's worth it or not now at 40 more points, because at that point it's just a few points away from a Plague Burst Crawler, right? So I mean, you give them the 2, you're like, I spend a few more points to get the Plague Burst, or this much for the Haulers. And the Haulers were, again, they were a mainstay in the Death Guard army. Okay, but they're 40 more points. They don't provide cover anymore, which was a big thing. You used to screen the troops behind them. They no longer gain the accuracy buff or units of 3. You can still take them in units of 3, but they don't get the plus to accuracy anymore. But that's kind of offset by the fact that they get +1. They're +1 to hit now. They're +1 attack, and they're +1 wound than they were before. So they hit better. They hit more. They have more attacks. They hit better, and they wound better. But they lose the cover. They don't get a bonus for taking them in 3s, and they're 40 more points. So not sure. At this point, I can recommend Blight Haulers, even though they were a mainstay in the Death Guard army beforehand. Just not sure. And the last of the fast attacks is the Chaos Spawn. Much like the Hellbrute, doesn't, no big changes. Their spawn are pretty much the same, right? They're, just, I don't know why you take a spawn for fast attack unless you point wise get them out there. But with 5-point Poxwalkers instead, they can tie up with a little more lasting power than a spawn has. I don't think I'd ever take a spawn, but anyway, those are your fast attack units. Okay, guys, so there you have it. It's basically our review of the units in the new Death Guard Codex. We're gonna have some more videos coming up here as I get through more of it. We'll go over the contagions and some of the special rules and stuff like that. But the first one I want to get out the door is the units listed and how they're kind of divided up. You could tell from this there's not very many core units, so that's kind of a limitation. The biggest limitation out of all these is the fact that the Lord of Chaos, or Lord of the Death Guard rule, very, very limiting as far as your headquarter choices. So they give you a ton of cool headquarter choices, including a brand new one, the Lord of Virulence, and you can only take one, right? So it's a little frustrating. But the good news, nearly all units have that contagion rule, so they spread that aura of contagion. You're looking at pretty much -1 toughness to your enemy going through, which is huge. The bubonic Astaris keyword benefits from inexorable advances and stuff like that. So your plague marines are always going to be rapid firing their bolters, no matter where, at full range, even if they move. And obviously this whole thing is geared around you taking more of a plague marine army than some of the special stuff, right? So you can't no longer have the zombie bomb, all poxwalkers, the horde of cultists running across. But I guess cultists kind of suck now, so you wouldn't want that anyway. The aura abilities have all been kind of changed now. They either affect just one unit or specific keywords, right? So the keywords are very important. So we got a little chart here to tell you what the Fodid Virion models are. I like the idea of getting more. Some of them got nerfed, some of them got buffed, but the fact that you can get more of them in your army now, which you know, that's pretty good. They can all be useful. I mean, the plague surgeon is probably the best out of those. It's my takeaway from that. Um, you know, only 3 troops, but like I said, plague marines are going to be the core of your army. That and Terminators 5-inch move now. That's huge, and keeping the 4+ invuln. Uh, you know, another big thing. Death Shroud can no longer protect Mortarion, which is that's kind of a big thing. You always took him to protect him, but I mean he's a beast. He's a beast, and he's super resilient. Now we'll go. I'm saving him for his own little. I didn't want to lump him in with these other videos here. So, but yeah, it was and Demon Engines, the big buff with the +1 to hit. Yeah, Intrepid Cannons being plague weapons now. So there's a ton of stuff that is really cool with this. So I'm looking forward to diving more into the Death Guard. That's my army. Nurgle's my man. So I just want to get this one out here. So thanks for listening to me ramble on about the new Death Guard Codex and the units inside. And I'll be back with another look at it with some of the special abilities and that here coming up. And you can look forward to more and more of these videos coming out here now that we've got the new year. You kind of get out of the whole, speaking of contagions, we kind of got held up here last year, right where we're getting on a roll. But I got more painting videos that I'm working on now, and a few more things coming out, guys. So stay tuned. We're giving this channel more love now. We've been focused on the other one and the Grizzled Geek main channel for a while now, for this year. Less last year, but now we're back at it and able to do these recordings. So thank you for paying attention. If you want to support the channel and things that we do here, guys, please like, subscribe, let's get us up there. If you want to hop on over to our main channel, the Grizzled Geek, with the link down below, and help us out there. We're almost at 1 million views, guys. In just 4 years, hitting 1 million views is going to be huge for us. So that's coming up in the next couple weeks. So if you want to help us get there, come over there and check out a few videos on that channel. And in the meantime, guys, happy gaming, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.